Hello, Arrow. How are you doing?
Doing very well. How are you doing today, sir?
Really great. We got a bright sunny day in Mississauga.
I grew up in the state of Montana, and I knew exactly who Triumph was in my teenage years. And to see this continuation, I mean, I'm like a child. I mean, to see this new documentary is just blowing me away.
Well, Arrow, we think the directors, Sam Dunn and Mark Riccardelli, they just did an amazing job that we got to give them full marks because the band really didn't, we did not have the ability or the foresight, that directorial perception, I'll call it, that those guys had. And they took a bunch of puzzle pieces and put them together and created a really great narrative.
What is it like for you to be able to go and experience this again? Because, I mean, you lived the lifestyle. Many memories were probably already gone, but yet you watch this and you're going, oh, my God, I know exactly what I was thinking when I was behind those drums.
Well, it's a power trio is a young man's game. It really is because especially the way we fashioned it, the show is very high energy and there was no room to hide. There was no place to make a mistake and get away with it. You had to kind of be on point all the time. So yeah, I love the concept of what we started out with and how we kind of stuck to our guns all the way along. But it's something that when I look back through the movie, I go, gee whiz, that was something else sitting on that drum throne with that massive PA system and all that sound coming out of it, and all those people.
I mean, it's the best seat in the house. But the thing that I've always learned about being on that stage is that there are no two nights the same. I mean, when you climb on that ship, I mean, it's like, here we go. Let's go have another experience here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is the best seat in the house, and we come out for sound checks when the venues were empty, and you get to kind of play the drums and hear the sound of the entire arena just kind of going with your snare drum and your kick drum, and takes you right back to when I was a kid in my parents' basement, and I'd be downstairs, my mom and dad would be upstairs with the doors closed, and they'd let me practice until 8:30 at night, and then they'd call down, Gil, it's 8:30.
I bet you can still hear the reverb when you would hit that bass drum or that snare, and it would echo all the way through the arena because there's just something about that feeling as you're doing it.
Well, it's funny. Our front of house sound man, Harry Witz, I mean, he's really, as far as I'm concerned, the king of the hill when it comes to live shows. And after Triumph, he went on and he did a ton of work with AC/DC. And Harry and I are still in touch, and we still talk about it because we worked really hard on what we did with the drums, and it was really kind of half Harry and half me because I got to admit he had a way, he had a mastery behind that soundboard, and some of the techniques he used were really, really innovative. Like we were using kind of samples and so on before anybody had heard of samples. So a lot of people say, how do you get your drums to sound like that? And I just go talk to Harry. He's the one with the secret sauce.
Making your way across that borderline. I mean, so it's fun to go back there and look at the stories of the Gordon Lightfoots and even Randy Bachman. We're going to call it the Guess Who. How did you guys make it across that line? Was it because I mean, I once again, I grew up in Montana. We used to watch things from Regina and all that kind of stuff, and that's where I found your music was on CJOC.
Yeah, we had a determination when we started that we weren't going to get stuck above the 49th parallel. Like we were bound, bent, and determined that we were going to get across the border, and it was just kind of a hard-headed notion because there was really not a great strategy to do it. But we were fortunate in that Rush had the same attitude, and they got across the border, and they were just a little bit ahead of us, but they broke down some doors, and we were like kind of right behind in their tailwind, going into some of the same markets and stuff. And we've watched so many Canadian bands that are great, and they get locked up here, and they just never make that transition to America. And we didn't want to be one of those bands because we felt that was the great adventure, was to go and play America, and it turned out just the way we'd hoped it would, sort of one city, one market at a time. But eventually, we just spread Triumph throughout every state in the union.
Yeah, and the greatest thing about it is that when we would buy the albums, we knew we were going to get great rock. I mean, I totally love a good power ballad, but you guys remain so true to great rock.
Well, we always wanted to, rock. We did have some. We always had the pressure from record labels all through our career to get out there with something that would transition over to top 40 radio. And we tried a little bit, but I that wasn't really our forum. Our forum was really album rock and the
Yep.
harder rap stuff. And it's funny that if I look back, I go, we would be better not to listen to anybody, because anybody that's trying to kind of change your sound, well, why would you change it if it's already working? Would really be a question that it's a goose that lays a golden egg scenario. It's like trying to get the goose to lay more golden eggs. It's like, that's never a good idea.
We love the music, but many listeners don't know the story, and that's what I love about Triumph, the rock and roll machine, is the fact that we finally get to go behind the scenes. It's almost like you guys are delivering a backstage pass to us.
Yeah. Well, we always were engaged with our fans, and
Yep.
the documentary speaks to that. And the one thing that we always admired about country artists, I remember when we first signed in America with RCA, and they took us to Nashville, and we got to meet Chet Atkins. And you want to talk about a gentleman? Holy smokes! There's a great photo of Rick with Chet, because after we were together, but Rick really wanted his picture with Chet, and we learned then, about the way that country artists were more grateful to their fans than it seemed the rock artists were. And that was kind of the road that we wanted to go down. Is we realized, I guess maybe it's being Canadians again, what we were talking about, getting across the border, that it's not the easiest thing in the world. So you got to be thankful for the people that really get into your music and support your band and support the growth of it and the airplay on radio and all that. And that continues to this day.
Wow. We always talk about, or we always hear the stories of Detroit, LA, New York, even Dallas, Texas. As a Canadian musician, where was your favorite place to play? Vancouver, Toronto, maybe even Victoria?
It's hard to pick a favorite, but I'll just say this: there's more than one favorite. Like San Antonio was a favorite because that was the first city in America that broke us, right? So, the mayor of San Antonio took us to the Alamo, and he gave us an award, which was sort of the equivalent to the keys to the city. Like, I'll never forget that about San Antonio. Hometown Toronto, as much as it was, sometimes it's annoying to play your hometown because everybody comes out of the woodwork that knows you, right?
Yeah.
And but every band has to put up with that. But, truthfully, getting to have my mother and father, get picked up by a limo and come and sit in the arena and see a sold out crowd, after having to put up with me, practicing drums in their basement for a million hours and probably giving headaches night after night. Oh, Gil, will you please stop? So it was, what can I say about Toronto from that point of view? Maple Leaf Gardens, never forget that. Biggest show we ever played, the US Festival. Steve Wozniak, we became lifelong friends. 500,000 fans. I look at it actually in the footage in the movie, you can see it quite clearly. And I go, I've never seen anything that big. So it's one of those things. Yeah, I guess I was there. I guess I did that. But, it was it's so amazing actually to look back on it. And it was definitely a high point for the band. Wow. But I could really go on and on about different cities. So many great cities in America that treated us so well and had our back throughout our career.
Wow. You got to come back to this show anytime in the future, Gil. I mean, God, I want to share your story forward.
Well, I sure appreciate that, Arrow. And thank you for hosting me. I will come back anytime. And thanks for beating the Triumph drums for us today. I sure appreciate it.
You bet. You be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Okay, man. All the best.